Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Tech Tips from Cooperative Systems. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the best have and must have collaboration tools for remote workforce these days. My name is Scott Spatz. I'm the president of Cooperative Systems, and I'm joined today by my business partner and chief operations officer for our company, Steve Martocchio. Good morning, Steve.
Hey, everyone. Good morning.
So as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about collaboration tools today, and some of the stuff we'll be talking about in detail is we'll go over some statistics about what's been going on over the past year or so with the COVID pandemic and remote workforce era. And then we're going to talk about some of the actual collaboration tools that remote workers have been using and how we've seen businesses benefiting from them, how we've worked with clients of ours in integrating some of these tools and supporting these tools over the course of time here. And then we'll talk a little bit about where to get them and how to use them, how to integrate them into your business. So a little bit about who we are. Cooperative Systems, we're an outsourced managed IT services firm. We're based in Connecticut and Massachusetts, serving the greater New England region. We've been in business since 1993, helping businesses all over the New England region, achieving business goals with use of technology and us working with them to provide excellent technology support and maintenance and security protections for their businesses to allow them to focus on their businesses. All right, so some of the stats that I mentioned, just very quickly here, we want to go over some of those. So we found that 74% of professionals answered that they believe remote work will become the new normal, even after the COVID era, if you will. And also 97% of employees don't want to return to the office full time. So there's staggering numbers of people who really don't prefer to work from the office any longer and would rather use these tools that we're going to be talking about to continue their remote work methods, if you will. 61% of employees prefer being fully remote, and remote work is the biggest draw for top talent. So on the recruiting side too, you're seeing a lot of businesses market the fact that they are allowing for remote workforce only. So these tools are just becoming more and more critical to marketability and then talent retainment for businesses of all size. And the benefit and the freedom to work remote are equally as important as the job itself and career benefits. So again, that's why we wanted to talk about some of these tools and systems that we've been seeing our clients use over the past year and a half, and hopefully provide some valuable content for everybody here. All right, so getting into some of the collaboration tools themselves. First topic that we're going to talk a little bit about is project management tools. So with the remote workforce era, it's been more critical to have a collaborative environment for people to be able to work on projects and initiatives together and have systems and tool sets that allow them to collaborate and keep people on task, keep people on schedule for all the different tasks and priorities within projects that they run. And when you're working remotely, it's more critical than historically as it had working in person together. So not to say that these systems have only come about in the remote workforce era, but they've come even more critical in the remote workforce era. So Steve, you want to talk a little bit about some of the project management tools that we've seen and some of the ones that our clients have been asking about?
Yeah, sure. So Microsoft Project used to be probably the most popular project management platform. Now with, again, remote workforce, there have been some challenges with Project. You can use that within the Microsoft 365 platform, or you can use a local copy of Project. But it tends to be more for internal company projects where you're collaborating with internal resources. Office 365 has kind of given, Microsoft Project has kind of given way to a lot of web-based platforms. There are tools out there such as Basecamp and Asana. Those are probably the two most popular ones. They provide easier collaboration for resources outside of organizations, just some of the security settings that you need to do within Microsoft 365 make sharing projects outside an organization a little challenging. These web-based tools are designed for internal collaboration as well as external collaboration. So natively, they're designed to support that. Another benefit of web-based tools is integrations with third-party applications like Salesforce, G Suite, Zapier, and others. That helps with a lot of workflow things, and gives companies flexibility for again, integration and the updating of other applications.
Yeah, right. And I think Basecamp and Asana are probably the most widely known and used platforms out there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are others, but those are probably the most popular ones today.
Right. Okay, great. And then as it relates to collaboration tools, this is probably the most commonly used and commonly asked about topic that we get.
Mm-hmm.
What tools our clients are asking us, what tools can we use to better communicate amongst our staff, share data amongst our staff without having to create significant complexities on our network infrastructure to provide access to the data. So products like Microsoft Teams, Slack, Google Workspace, things like that, and
Sure.
how video chat and all that kind of stuff ties into that collaborative component.
Sure.
What are the kind of things we're seeing there?
Yeah, so from the collaboration tools perspective, there's two components, right? There's the communication and meeting space, where you see the extensive use, especially during the COVID pandemic, of Zoom, GoToMeeting, WebEx. They're very popular online meeting platforms. They tend to be used for meetings with external resources and webinars. Some have advanced features like meeting breakout rooms, multi-participant and simultaneous screen sharing, and things like that. But from the day-to-day collaboration, to your point, you see things like Slack and Teams. Those are used for internal collaboration, and they combine those same meeting functionalities, maybe not some of the advanced features like I mentioned, but certainly the ability to do video conferencing and chat. You can also invite outside resources to it, but it gives the ability to it adds to that conferencing ability. There's also the ability to do file management and file collaboration. Internally, we've standardized on Teams due to the integration with Microsoft 365. But again, there are others out there, like Slack is very popular.
Yeah, so that ties into the next topic that we had, which was cloud storage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what are kind of the differences between the Microsoft 365 platform, and then even aside from 365, there's components like OneDrive and SharePoint, and so I know a lot of people have asked what's the difference between 365 and SharePoint and OneDrive, even though we know they're all effectively the same platform. But from our client's perspective, if you could talk a little bit about what's different with those titles, if you will, of products, and then how does the Microsoft platform differ from the Google G Suite and using other tools like Dropbox and those sync tools?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, Dropbox, Box, G Suite, SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive. Yeah, I mean, those are all common names out there that we hear. Dropbox, Box, and OneDrive, they're data synchronization tools. So files are created, modified, and saved on the local workstation, and then synchronized to the cloud. Generally, these tools, while there are multi-use and business shared abilities with some of these, they're generally used for individual file storage and management. G Suite and Microsoft SharePoint, and kind of tied to SharePoint is Microsoft Teams. Those are tools really designed for collaboration. So, and in some cases, these can take place on a local file server. So we have some clients that no longer have a file server domain controller locally, and they're running the Microsoft 365 platform for all their file sharing. They provide both G Suite and Microsoft Teams, which actually leverages SharePoint. They're great tools for collaboration of documents. They allow for multiple users to modify the document simultaneously. You can see, so again, we use Microsoft 365 here, so we can have multiple people in the same document. You can see, take Excel, for example, you can see what cell the other person is actually working on when you're collaborating. So, so there's a lot of benefits to that type of ability. And in the Microsoft 365 realm, you not only can use your browser to manage those applications, but you can also use the Microsoft 365 version of Word and Excel, and it provides that same collaborative functionality as if you were modifying in the browser.
Right.
One challenge with the browser, I think, is that you don't get all the functionality that you do in the full version of the Office products, but generally for most use cases, the browser is pretty full functioning too. So we found that to be a pretty beneficial tool. I use the browser version of those tools pretty regularly.
And like you mentioned too, is that we have clients that are migrating off of traditional local file servers that were in their offices or even hosted, for that matter, from hosting in our data center. That Teams is a good replacement for them, where they can not have to invest in server infrastructure and maintenance of a server infrastructure any longer. They can just leverage the platform that they're probably already using for their email hosting.
Agreed.
And just leverage that further. And as long as we plan out the file structure and the shares and the permissions and all that kind of stuff properly, that it's a great replacement for a traditional file server environment.
Yeah, one challenge that we've seen with Teams and we've kind of learned over the years is you really want to be careful who you give permissions to be able to create teams, because without some structure on that, it can kind of run amok pretty quickly.
Yeah, right.
Where you end up with all these teams and management of that becomes very, very challenging. So you really want to plan out your team's implementation and kind of be forward thinking, not lock yourself into provide for some flexibility going forward, but be kind of rigid in how teams and channels and what the permissions are for those teams, and really think strategically when you set that up.
Right. Agreed.
And one other note that I would add is that if you're using Teams or any Microsoft 365 product, even G Suite, you want to consider a backup solution for those tools. While these are hosted on Microsoft's platform and Google's platform, and they'll provide some level of recovery, it's not, one, you don't have the control that you would if you're running your own backup platform, and two, they're not going to provide the level of recovery if a single file was deleted or a single mailbox was deleted. So having a third-party backup of those platforms is important, and not just for recovery of specific items, but if there was ever a ransomware attack, which we've heard of. They're not too common yet in these platforms, but it does occasionally happen. And as with any important data, you want to make sure you have that backed up.
Right. No, it's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up, because the misconception by a lot of people and businesses is that when I move stuff to the cloud, I don't have to worry about it any longer.
Right, exactly.
But the reality is that it still has to tie into your overall backup and disaster recovery strategy for your business, and the what if scenarios that you hopefully already have in place for your business on your premise-based computing. You still have to apply those to any cloud-based computing platforms.
Exactly.
All right, great. So the next topic that we wanted to discuss just quickly here is overall voice communications and voice over IP, unified communications you may have heard of. We talked a few minutes ago about some of the chat and video features within some of these collaboration tools. But I think the question that a lot of people have, Steve, is that can these collaboration tools replace my phone system, or do I still need a phone system, and what's the value of my phone system for my business?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so first of all, there are so many vendors in this space that it's hard to keep track of all the players. So we resell a platform called Mitel, and there's unified communications built in. So kind of understanding what is unified communications, right? So essentially, unified communication brings telephony, voice, video calling, your traditional voice communication tools, for lack of a better term, and kind of integrates those with your productivity tools. That's where you're integrating with things like Microsoft 365 and conferencing, messaging. You essentially have all that presented in one interface. So it's kind of, again, it's what the term is: unified communications, bringing it all together in one tool. Now, as far as VoIP goes, so VoIP is a technology used for telecommunications. It's often and incorrectly implied that a VoIP system is a cloud-based system. That's not true. A VoIP system can be a cloud-based system, but it can also be an on-premises phone system. Hosted VoIP systems provide better flexibility, especially for remote workforce. And additionally, handsets can be programmed to connect to a hosted VoIP system. So in the event of a disaster, you can pick up your desk phone and bring it to a home office or disaster recovery location. In addition, you have the ability to run an application, say on a smartphone or on your laptop or desktop computer, that gives you the, it's called a soft phone.
Oh, soft phone.
Thank you. Yeah, a soft phone, where essentially you're emulating a handset. So especially in the remote space and where we've been over the past 18 months, these types of systems have been instrumental for us. So we use a hosted voice system, and a lot of our customers that, with work from home, having that flexibility was key.
Right. And the value to your customer base is that regardless of where you're working from, they don't know anything different, really, because your business doesn't appear any different to them, regardless of whether your people are in the office or are at 100 different locations around the country, around the world.
Exactly.
You can have that same level of appearance to them and service quality to them. We've had a lot of success stories with clients in that manner, where whether there was a weather disaster, obviously all these pandemic stories about picking up and needing to work remotely, that they've been able to continue to service their clients just as it was before whatever the incident was that happened. So, and again, the misconception is about whether do I still need a phone system when I have all these other collaboration tools that can provide a level of voice communications as well. And the reality is that you typically need both still. Obviously, there's exceptions to that with type of business, but certainly any type of business that provides a level of customer support to their clients, you typically cannot get the features you need, just by running Teams or running Slack or anything like that, or running, any of the Google chat features.
Right, especially if you have something like call center or call routing or any of those advanced features, you really need a phone system for that. Microsoft has voice, voice and I guess you'd call it phone service through their Microsoft 365 platform. and that's improving. But for us, for example, we run a call center for our service desk, and we have call routing, and so some of those advanced functionalities, at least as we've done our analysis, we needed a standard VoIP phone system for that.
Right. Okay. And the last topic that we wanted to just touch on was time management and some of the tools out there. And this ties in also to, and again, like we said from the beginning, a lot of these things tie into each other, and these topics and components within them tie into each other. But time management specifically ties into some of the project management tools that we talked about and collaboration tools that we talked about. But what are we seeing there in the time management components?
Yeah, so I kind of lump time and task management kind of together as the same type of topic, right? So there are tools out there like Trello, Microsoft Planner, even Outlook tasks are good tools for keeping track of to-dos and helping you manage your time. As you mentioned, it can be used as like a light project management tool, depending on how complex the project might be. But generally it's to help, these are for individual tasks and keeping you on track with, just what your to-dos are. So in our business though, we don't use those tools. We have a separate tool that's designed for IT companies. So our tasks are kept track of as service tickets. Again, that's the nature of our business because we're service driven and we're responding to issues and needs of our clients. So we use that platform for all of our task management. That gives us the ability. I mean, we can schedule with we can set workflow rules to send reminder follow-ups or have the service ticket behave in a certain way. So that's how we use it. Again, just because of the nature of our business, and we need to share these tasks amongst a team where the task could move from one person to another person as it's being escalated or different things need to be done. So but again, Trello, Planner, Outlook tasks, those are some pretty standard tools out there that we see a lot of companies using. Right.
And it's a good point that you mentioned about how the task and time management certainly tie in together. That's typically in most platforms, that's what you'll see, because the time management is a result of tasks that are in place. So
exactly, and you can you put those on your calendar as set reminders and give yourself a good window of visibility into what your to-dos are and what your day-to-day needs to be.
Right. Okay, great. All right, so now that we've talked about a number of these platforms and tools that are out there and available for small businesses, I just wanted to touch on kind of how we feel and how we've seen businesses benefit from some of these remote work platforms. So, one of the things that we see is reducing overhead. We talked about some of the ability to eliminate some of the infrastructure gear that you may have had over the course of time and migrate some of that data and some of those workloads to some of these cloud platforms that you may already have in place. So reducing some of your overhead there on equipment and maintenance of that equipment. Next is more flexibility. So certainly having the ability for some of these tools to integrate with each other, allowing and then the remote component of tying the remote component into these tools, giving that positive impact for your staff on, ability to work remote, morale, decrease stress, positive work-life balance, things like that. So I think it's some things to consider on the flexibility side. We mentioned this already about hiring and the human resource component of it. Not just hiring, but keeping your staff on board and keeping them happy to continue to work for your business. So being able to have remote talent from anywhere, and you're not limited to just the geography that your business actually resides in. and being able to extend your workforce to anywhere geographically only opens up the value that you can get of human resources capital for your business. So you could have people all over the country, all over the world working for your business based on their skill sets. Consistent communication. So as I'm sure you're all aware, communication is key in just about any business. And having these tools in place, allowing your staff to collaborate and communicate with each other regularly and efficiently certainly talks to efficiency and productivity, right? And the ability for them to be productive for your business. Task management, as Steve was just talking about, and task management, time management, recording that data, having these systems be easy to use and available for them to be able to log their time, log their information on behalf of your business and the work that you're doing for your customers. That's kind of paramount. Anything to add there, Steve?
No, I think you summed it up pretty well.
Yeah. So again, just to kind of sum up what we've talked about and close out here. So keeping track of all these tools, as all of the things that we've talked about and mentioned. Sometimes it can be challenging to keep track of them all and how they integrate. Managing all the different vendors that you may have of these tools can also be challenging, and especially when you're remote as well. But our recommendation is to have a good strategic plan in place as to which tools you're using, what their purpose is for your business, and then also how are you going to manage them, safeguard them, protect them. Steve talked about the backup and disaster recovery component of these tools, making sure that ties into your policies you already have in place, or hopefully that you already have in place around disaster recovery and security protections. How you're going to monitor those platforms and make sure they're secure for you. Keeping them updated. Again, security is paramount. So some of those things just to think about when you're moving your workloads to the cloud and moving them out of what you would consider has been controlled and maintained in your environment in your office maybe all this time, that now you're moving it out to the cloud. You still got to have that control and management and processes and procedures wrapped around that. So we do this all the time. This is part of our business. So certainly having an outside IT firm help you manage this is of value. And really just ask yourself, does my business have a process and a plan for implementing and managing all these collaboration tools? And if not, we're here to help. We certainly have great tested processes that we've done this and done migrations and managed these platforms for our clients over the course of time. Check out our website, www.coopsys.com. We talk about how we work and engage with prospective clients and how we evaluate their businesses to see how we can make recommendations for best technologies for their business and for their business's mission and goals. That concludes our topic for today. Thank you for joining in. Thank you, Steve, for your excellent insight and commentary on the topic.
Thank you.
And we'll look forward to next time and next topic of value for everybody. Thanks for joining in today.